Okay, I'm going to try to sell Pamela to you. And let me do it in the sort of overview way first. So first of all, it's published in 1740 and it was a wild success. It was popular the way Harry Potter is popular today. There were Pamela teacups, there was Pamela fan fiction, there's Pamela everything. Everyone loved this book. So I told you that you probably wouldn't like it, and there's a chance you won't, but there's a really good chance you won't. But it's not that the book is bad, it's that it's different from what we expect today. It was very much in line with what 18th century readers were eager to read about. And it spawned sequels and parodies, one of which we're going to be reading, and was talked about by everyone. There was Pamela conduct books. In fact, Pamela is a lot like a conduct book, which we talked a little bit about with Moll Flanders, where it's meant to teach you lessons about how to behave. The difference between Pamela and Moll Flanders is that Moll Flanders is like, don't do what I did, don't do what I did, don't do what I did. And Pamela is like, do what I did, do what I did, do what I did. Okay, so if we're reading this with the grain, the way the book seems to want us to read it, it's the story of this girl who's a servant, and her mistress dies, and the mistress's son keeps her on as a servant, but immediately takes a liking to her and starts trying to take liberties with her, and she resists all of his attempts, and he gets more and more insistent, and she gets more and more resistant, and eventually, I'm sort of spoiling here, but you won't care. It will turn out. Eventually he falls crazy in love with her, and this whole book is, most of the book is a collection of letters from Pamela to her parents about the master and how he's treating her and how she's trying to respond. And the master starts to take advantage of her, but even before that, we get a letter from her parents saying, you be careful, if he's being nice to you, that can only mean one thing. And then we as readers who are reading the way the book seems to want us to read are meant to take that advice to heart. Like if a more powerful man is being nice to you, that means he probably wants something from you. And so be careful. The way it gets phrased, which is not even not true, but the way it gets framed in Pamela is that she has to protect her virtue above all else. And this means a couple of things, one of which is be virtuous, but another of which is her virginity. Her virtue and virginity become synonymous in this book, and her attempts to quite literally resist being raped by him are configured as attempts at protecting her virtue. So the book becomes more and more explicit about his attempts to seduce her, is how it's called in the book. And then eventually it's like clearly assault and rape. And I'm not sure even the book uses the term seduction anymore at some point. But might be compared to this other book that Richardson wrote, where there is a actual rape, and called Clarissa, and then she has to kill herself because she's been raped and her virtue is gone. Pamela is like the happy version where she doesn't manage to get raped. So when we read it, our sympathies are meant to be with her and her protection of her virtue, her virginity, against this master who's obviously there's a power differential, but who obviously as well, like, she's depending on for the livelihood that she's sending back to her parents. So we get the same kind of financial pressure that we got in Mothlanders. I'm going to stop here. Hope this is working a little bit on getting you into the story, and then I'm going to start again.